Okay.
Right, okay. The November 16th, 2022 Rescue Squad Advisory Commission meeting come to order. Approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the September meeting? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor, right hand? Opposed? Okay, that passes. Commission member comments. Okay, Scott, the voting procedure for commission representatives seems to have changed from prior years.
Okay.
It surprised a lot of people. I got a bunch of questions.
Okay. So it hasn't officially changed. There were some mistakes possibly made before. But the voting specifically says we will take nominations in August and that we will vote in October or November's meeting. The rank of the nominated member from a given region will conduct at each squad within the region during the month. So we have to vote for that member. Newly elected voting commissioners and newly appointed non-voting commissioners being the at-large. First advisor will seat at the first advisory commission meeting of the following year. So that is January. So when you actually read that, there has to be a vote of the body. It is not a nomination of the chiefs, like had been done, that we only had one person and the chiefs just said, I agree with that person. So if you read that, it specifically says there will be a vote held. And that's why, even though there was one person, we needed to confirm that vote, because it's not just the chiefs who we get the nominations from, or anybody can be nominated, that elect this group. The body of the rescue squads or the fire department, for the fire department, is who actually elects the commissioner. So that was, in the past, there was one person who was automatically done. If we got a write-in, if there was an actually vote held, there was possibility someone didn't know, et cetera, and so we have to have a vote.
Thank you.
And that is in line with what we were doing with the fire department commission also.
Okay. The part that was not in line was the way it was done. There could appear to be the possibility of impropriety. In the past, it was done the same as you said. But a representative from that squad got to see what was in the envelope before it got sealed and taken away.
Okay.
He, of course, would not say anything if it was a two squad vote. But this time that was not done.
So for the last 3 years, when there was more than two people, it has been a sealed envelope. And if you would like to see those envelopes and those bids, you're more than welcome to. We keep them and they're sealed. But we seal them so that one squad doesn't influence.
Right.
Because the votes aren't done on the same night. The squads and those members all are different.
Agreed.
Give an example, we have 4 for the fire department, different departments that have to go to get that done.
South End.
South End.
Yep. But I'll say again, in the past, the chief or his designee was able to see what was in the envelope before it got sealed and taken away, because once it gets sealed and taken away, anything can happen. But if someone knows about it They won't say anything, but they know about it. They're protecting the integrity of the vote.
Okay,
That's,
we'll look at it.
Thank you.
That, I mean,
appreciate it.
we can look at that.
Thank you. Okay. Rescue SOGs. A few months back, we formed a committee to start reviewing the SOGs with hopes of updating them, modifying them. It's been slow because of COVID and stuff, but we've started on it. And I was recently told that there are no SOGs for rescue.
That is correct. They were removed, when it was merged because those were made directly under the rescue squad. They were not made under emergency services. That was removed 8 years before I took over. I'm sorry, not 8 years, 5 years before I became, the director. And those have never officially been adopted again by the Rescue Commission or under emergency services where everything is under one umbrella. So there are no rescue squad SOGs that fall because they were made under, when I was just over the rescue squad, they were not over that section of it. We have used them as a guideline
So
to make decisions, but they did not go through this process, under the merge of the departments.
So we're operating without any SOGs?
Other than the county SOGs, yes. Of what the volunteers want.
Do we need to even redo the SOGs then?
I mean, I would recommend, there are some things that clarify things, and I have used them to make decisions on a frequent basis to say, yes, this was a good policy, and I agree with that. But it had not gone through this process, formally to enact those.
Okay, thank you. We'll change.
Where did those come from? The guideline that you provided for me, where did that come from?
This commission developed them in 2014 and then passed our recommendations on to the rescue chiefs who adopted in 2014.
Before the merger of emergency services, it was two legs. We had a rescue leg and a fire leg, and then we moved into having one. And that's when those were thrown out and said we will only use one SOG. And those are ours.
Okay. And we're not gonna use the one now? We're going back to using our own?
No, we're welcome to add those pieces to the overall SOG picture.
Okay.
Is what, if you guys go through them again, look at them, see what's pertinent today. Give an example, in there was the driving policy that we have. Okay, so there are things within it that we already have within emergency services policies that don't have to be redone, but there wasn't one at the time. So that was how we did that, POV response at the time. But now we have that policy.
Okay, so as a committee, we'll change course and do it as you suggested.
Okay?
So what we're gonna do is make amendments to the county SOGs, is that what it's?
Not county SOGs, the rescue squad, volunteer rescue squad SOGs that were developed. And then we will put them into our SOGs, and make sure that they coincide so where they don't conflict with each other.
Okay, our SNGs are the counties.
Correct.
Got
Yes, for medical response.
Is that in ERS, in the library?
The old one is not,
No, not the old one.
as we're redoing the new ones, all of them are, there's a lot of them that are not appropriate. So. It won't be as like, we need to take that and put it into, and we will write an SOG that says this is the medical volunteer rescue squad SOG. Well, the county will write one that supports this one in, so if we take the old one, look at what we already have. Example, you have a training policy coming together under the training committee. That's not how the training was done before in the old SOGs. So some of those things, you know, we just need to deconflict those so that we don't have conflicting policies within the county and within the SOGs for the rescue squads. I mean, some of the good things were they gave some standards for what a chief had to have to be a rescue chief. It gave standards to make sure training is appropriate. You know, those things, well, we have a training policy. So we need to make sure that we don't counter, with the progress with some of the things we've made between then and now, we need to make sure that they're aligned.
Okay, good. And the last item I have is medical dispatching. I have been trying to keep tabs during my waking hours of priority one calls that go out that we're not dispatched to. And I have an unbelievable amount of pieces of paper.
Okay?
Um,
So have you provided that to me?
No, my question was going to be.
Please.
How would you like it provided?
Please send me an email with those listed.
Okay.
So that we can have those calls looked at. What we find is a lot of times, there's a reason. There's an officer already on scene. It's a priority one call, but there's already an officer on scene. And a lot of times we'll review the tape and they'll specifically say, I don't want responders. I just want an ambulance with no lights. And so we would be glad to look at them because we do know in some cases we're sent late. We're not sent as a first response agency. We're not sent at all, but let us know so we can actually look at those to say, hey, what, box alarm, didn't have it listed on. And, you know, one of the things that we need to encourage the rescue squad chiefs to do is to look at their primary and their secondary alarm. In a lot of cases, on the box alarms, nothing was done. It is blank for dispatchers. Okay, so we have all these new dispatchers that are changed, and they're good, they've gone through training, but they don't have the history of Rescue 1 goes to this, but Rescue 3 is not listed on their box alarm to go to that. And so they have to guess, does this sound bad enough? Does it not sound bad enough to go to some of those things? And the same thing for the hospital. The hospital has the 7 things they send us on, and that's it. And so it's a priority one, but it went out as, let's just say, an unconscious, but not a cardiac arrest. Which is a bad example because we would go on an unconscious. But,
Fainting or unconscious?
do what?
Fainting?
Yeah,
Or
fainting. It
unconscious?
goes out on a fainting and not an unconscious, so we would have gone, so they don't send us. So it never comes out of the hospital to send us. And it went as a fainting from us to the hospital. It goes out to the hospital as unconscious, but it never comes back sometimes. You know, that's the stuff we have to look at to see, to try to get the documentation right or the work, because we don't go on every single call. The hospital sends priority 2 calls, non-emergency calls, without us.
Right.
And so that's,
I'm only concerned with priority one calls.
yeah, no, me too.
Yeah.
You know,
We had a call like that the other day. We had a fainting call. And en route to it, EMS is talking about is now a cardiac arrest.
right. And so other units should, but understand our dispatch is not listening to that.
Right.
Our dispatch does not listen to the, EMS dispatch 24/7.
I informed them.
Yeah, right.
They have
Which is-
units to
yeah,
the call.
yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Probably what had happened was they just hadn't called back over to tell county
Probably,
that was now a cardiac arrest, so
if they do that at all.
they
Right.
do,
They do sometimes.
they do.
Yeah, sometimes.
There is a disconnect. Now that the 2 dispatches do not see the same information, that link is not there anymore. So for up until 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, if it was typed in this dispatch, it was in this dispatch because we shared dispatch. The hospital system chose to go with their own dispatch because they dispatch all over the upstate, their own CAD system. And it works great for them. Unfortunately, it is not good for the overall communication within the system. And we are working with that. We have met with them. We're talking about ways to try to make that communication better, training, all those kind of things, because then ultimately it is lives on the line with people that need to have information. If it's to help the public the most, to keep our responders safe, to keep their medics safe, all that put together, everyone being on the same page is the best option. And that is what, we are supposed to be doing in communication, is to be able to communicate.
Thank you. Commissioner McCormick.
Thank you. I'll pose this question to the other members. Have any of you had issues with vehicles being serviced at the motor pool? When they come back having any issues?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to my, but
And not with 22, but we only have one vehicle.
Yeah.
So I'm not a good pool of information.
Okay. How about from the county?
So, we are working on that, okay? We have just enacted a new checklist for inspections, to try to help us, catch some of the things that we've realized that weren't being done properly. Presently, we do not have an emergency vehicle certified repair person and they're working on that through certifications and getting people up to speed and those kind of things at the motor pool, to do that. And every vehicle is supposed to be seen, a year, and that has not happened. And so we are in the process of rewriting protocols and processes. In the last probably month, we've done a huge change in looking at that and what that inspection entails. Prime example is Special Rescue and Dive had a truck go down, and we found out they hadn't looked at the brakes in 2 years. It's an emergency vehicle, it's heavy, it had a caliper that went bad, that can just go bad, we understand that. But we need to do a better job of the inspection we have, but we really didn't have the right inspection paperwork, and so we're trying to fix that. Dwayne and Honeycutt are trying to work on that, making sure that we do a better job of the inspection.
Is this an inspection post-service or during service?
So that's part of what, let's just say Q&A is not really, we're working on how that's gonna happen.
Okay.
To try to make sure that things are fixed. Again, and maybe not yours, I know prime example, we sent one of the trucks to the dealership to be fixed and everything, and it broke down on the way home from the motor pool. And that is the gremlins of electronics sometimes. But we are trying to work on a process to not just, fix something, but to have a Q&A after the fixing to make sure that what was written up and everything that was written up was fixed.
Okay. I want to be kind and I want to be understanding, because I know they've had staffing issues like everybody else on the planet. And I know we got great people working down there, but we've had some issues lately with some things that when I look at them, I want to go home after a call, and all of our staff members want to make it home.
You deserve that. I mean, you deserve, to make sure that your vehicles are adequate.
But I also believe that I want to make it to the person in need. And just some simple examples. Several months ago, we had overinflated tires on the back of one of the trucks, and I came across a railroad track and it decided to move sideways. Figured out after the call that it had too much air in both of the rear tires to cause it to bounce. Within the last week, we had to take the truck back to the motor pool. We had taken it in for 2 new tires on the front, a brake light, and brakes, which keep failing on the same truck. When I picked it back up, I had a member pick it up and drop it off at the building. When I went to put equipment back in it, one of the tires had been replaced on the front, but the other one was still worn out. And then the center cap was missing from the back tire, which wasn't supposed to be serviced at all. So we took it back to the motor pool the next day, still had to stay out of service. And going back a little further, we had one instance where we picked up one of the county vehicles from the motor pool, and 3 of the lug nuts were loose and laying inside of the center cap, and the other 2 were not tight. I know we're not the only department that the motor pool services, and we're certainly not more important than anybody else. But I think we gotta have some type of system where these vehicles are checked. And we've implemented our own system, checking them before we put them back in service now, but I really didn't think we had to do that. Or maybe we shouldn't have to do it, but we're doing it now to catch things like that. But I grew up in maybe the end of the generations that cared about their work product and who understood that there's people's lives on the line, and I just want to make sure we have that same attitude and some type of process to where people are protected.
Well, I appreciate you doing a double check. We have been working, to work out a process of what that looks like, to make sure, safety, there's no reason we don't want people to feel like you're not driving a safe vehicle and that if it's been worked on, it's not safe. So I jotted down a couple more notes and we will continue to improve the process that we do.
Any other discussion on that? So the other thing I wanted to talk about is, I haven't been here long, and I filled a term of somebody else. So I haven't, started a term of my own, but it's really important to me that I do a good job. And when I look back through the emergency management ordinance, I really question as to whether we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as a commission. There's just a spot, Article 1, Section 1031, to be responsible for guidance, advice, and recommendations to the county and county council on current and active rescue activities in the county. When have we done that? We haven't. So we've got responsibilities, and I want to make sure, I'm speaking for myself. I want to make sure I'm doing a good job at this. And I think there's a lot of things that we aren't doing that we need to be doing, we should be involved in. And so I hope in this coming year we can all figure it out and do a good job at it and actually make a good difference in what's happening.
I think that in the past, we were sort of channeled to give our opinions to you and you deliver them to the county council.
And yes, that is, it is designed that way, but it is not the only way that has to go. It specifically says later on, it comes through me to the administrator for that too, but it also, you do, have the option to report to the council. Usually through the public safety, committee, is how that would go, and if they recommended it to full council, process, or individually to council. For your area, which doesn't exactly line up with commissioners, because of the departments, but that is also, it's how we added all the rescue vehicles to the one of the things we added, 4 years ago is we've turned around and added all the rescue vehicles to the replacement plan. And we've shortened them from a 20-year life expectancy to a 10-year life expectancy. That's why no rescue vehicles were coming up in the plan, and we're a little behind with getting, vehicles and behind, because they weren't in the plan except for 20 years. And we know that a pickup truck run as many calls, and then some of them don't, but a lot of them, I know Rescue One's vehicles, in 10 years, they're gonna be old. They're not gonna make 20 years. We're not making 20-year pickup trucks anymore. So those kind of things you have brought to us. Policies, procedures, the radio committee been, working on that to better those. Those things, the commission has definitely brought up. You have a lot working. The training committee going on, if you're gonna work on the SOGs, all of that is what I believe you're talking about, but making sure that you, project that out and we get the information out that we need. Some of that is getting the information from the squad and the members. Making sure that, you're that voice for me, to talk to all them, that, that's that force multiplier to try to figure out. Mike, isn't here tonight, but, he's out medically, but, he is that voice every day for each of you to talk to and work through that as he works every day on that, to look at that piece of it. And I think we can tighten up, but you've done a lot, to advise me on ways we can better our system. I just think that we're gonna have some new people starting, and that'll be, next year, and I would make an agenda for the year to say, this is what we wanna try to accomplish, or something like that, so where it's just not month to month. We tackle some of those things in a bigger perspective on the rescue, specifically the rescue, squads, recruitment, retention, whatever that may be. We all know we need recruitment and retention, plain and simple, for the volunteers, so. Does that answer, or?
Yeah, I'd say, and I looked through the list of their responsibilities, and we definitely are, the training portion, we've been active on, but we got some work to do on the other sections, so. I just want to encourage us to do good. So, that's all I have.
That it, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. Director Cronin?
Okay, first thing, Christmas dinner, to mention that, January 20th, 6 PM. Awards and a good opportunity for us to get together, on that. What we have, for that too, it jumps down just a little bit, for a discussion regarding Rescue Squad Member of the Year. So that is twofold for us. Generally, this commission votes on that person from the squads. So we need to start getting those recommendations from each squad's Rescue Squad Member of the Year and get those write-ups turned into the Rescue Squad, or Mike or myself. The Rescue Commission would come together and vote on, out of all of the squad's submissions, who that member is, for the year. That, we generally do that in executive session. So that would be done in the December meeting in this case, if we have all those in by then. If we have a December meeting. If we don't have one, which we don't, scheduled, we would need
Early January
an
meeting.
early January meeting and then our regular meeting. And I say December is generally, that is picked by this group. So this commission picks this year's, person. If it happens in January, that first meeting is to seat everybody, and it's the new commission.
There's no reason why we can't have a short December meeting for this purpose.
I was gonna say, just a meeting for, it would just truly be just executive session to do this, for that vote. So that you guys, and gals get to, you know, if we don't have it soon enough, we can't get the plaques made, those kind of things, for that dinner, so.
All we have to do is convince the rescue squads to get us the information.
The numbers. So, Chairman, what I would like to, what I'd like to say is if me and you could get together, we'll get some dates together to do that, because I'll have to check the availability of here. We need to, set a final date, that the, you know, the squads have to get their stuff in for that meeting. It is, let's get the calendar up, sorry.
If we're just going to have an executive session meeting, can it be somewhere else? Not under the lights?
Technically, it does need to be here.
Still have
Okay.
to
So,
start it
and then,
here.
because we come in and out
Okay,
on a formal recorded meeting.
okay.
If we can, in a month, if we could have that rescue squad member of the year. I mean, I'm assuming that most rescue squads are still doing a member of the year.
I know we are.
So you already have your member,
We're voting
Four.
Monday night.
Monday night.
4 has their member.
4 has their member.
We do not yet.
You do not yet. Is there a plan to?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I will find out
I've-
tonight.
So if by December 16th, if we can have, I don't think many meetings would be after that anyways. That would give us, 2 weeks to try to coordinate all of our calendars. That could be a midday meeting if people are available. You know, it does not have to be we just have to publish that meeting, you know, that we're gonna do it. So it gives us some time for, you know, all of us to come together to say, hey, I can meet to do that, and we can make that happen. But it would give us 2 weeks in December to pick that time if we have it by December 16th. Those departments that have a member.
We'll have ours December 12th.
Okay.
December 12th.
I'll get up with
That's their next meeting.
Well,
I'll
we're
get
having
up
our
with
Christmas dinner. We'll just make it a meeting.
There you go.
I'll get up with each chief and
Okay.
make sure that's gonna happen.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Does the member there it does not have to be a responder, it can be a member, correct?
Correct. Yep. New vehicles. So there was 2 vehicles for rescue in the budget. That has been just a little bit hard to get. We do have one coming, for us that we have spoken for, and have in the works. The biggest thing is, the way state contract is now, we are working through that. They're not making any Fords, 150 state contract this year. So we were able to secure one, SUV, and we are working on the other one. So that is a work in progress. I wish I could say, it was done and we have the second vehicle, but we're still trying to negotiate through the new process of state contract and the shortage of vehicles in itself. We actually, last year, the 2 vehicles that were ordered were canceled. And we didn't find out they were canceled until August, that they were canceled from last year. When they canceled them, they returned our money, and the new vehicles cost more than they did last year, so we are even short to buy new vehicles. So, all that is going into trying to, you know, reduce our timeframe on our vehicles, and our fleet, replacement plan is changing a lot, as we look at every day the availability to replace vehicles, so.
Are you having equal problems with staff vehicles?
Yes, Yeah, I mean, one of the staff vehicles was canceled from last year, and we have not been able to replace it.
Who were the two vehicles going to that were from last year and now are from this year?
Rescue 1, and I believe Rescue 4
Okay.
were the two for for this year. And last year, there was no rescue squad vehicles. They were only staff vehicles that did not get ordered and, purchased. The rescue squad vehicle, was the year before we pushed up, which was the special rescue truck for that.
Okay.
Rescue squad, no response update. I just want to say, we've seen a significant increase in the amount of calls that are actually, being, answered by some departments, which is great. Unfortunately, the call volume has gone up, so it doesn't seem like as many calls are being, there's still the same number of no answers, but we're seeing more answered. So I want to applaud the squads for getting out, answering calls, and doing that. It doesn't change the fact that we are going to continue to see an increase. We're not adding squads, so the only thing that happens is you get more calls. And so, continuing to recruit, continuing to, do the best that you can, and we know it's volunteers, and 67% of all the calls are medical calls, out there, so it is a huge burden. And I just want everyone to know we appreciate all the calls that you run to, and even though the numbers you're still missing the XYZ numbers, it doesn't mean you're not increasing your numbers, because we do see that too, that the number of calls answered is continuing to increase. Unfortunately, the number of calls is continuing to increase. So keep up the good work, answering the calls that you can answer. Make sure, train people, keep that training up. It's harder and harder to be a volunteer, unfortunately, and keeping that training up and those things. But just make sure all the members know, we do see the increase of calls that are being answered out there, so.
You mentioned recruitment a minute ago. Do you hope that the county will assist the volunteers in recruitment? I don't know how yet, but.
I said it a couple months ago, let's come together and get some ideas to try to do recruitment, and let me figure out how we're gonna pay for it, okay? I don't mind that a bit. But if we don't have any ideas, what does the squads feel? What you feel, what can reach yours. I can reach out. We constantly, have Facebook pages going out and those kind of things, but that's coming from the county. How can we help individual squads to get people from the county? Unfortunately, it's hard for just us to get employees that we're gonna pay. More or less, people that work as much as employees that don't volunteer. So, that is where we're at. The workforce and the volunteer force being the one, when I say workforce, is thin. And that burden is becoming harder and harder on all of us to try to catch the few that are there with so many places for them to volunteer. There's so many organizations that we have to catch them and make sure we keep them. That retention piece is important, because you can get all the volunteers in the world, but if you don't keep them, it's a revolving door.
I've heard numerous people mention that they think that one of the problems with retention for the rescue squads is that once they get a member, it might be many months until they can actually start going on calls, only because of training offerings.
Okay.
It's something to think about.
Yeah, we just finished a 8-week EMR course.
Yep.
The third one this year. So, we're pushing them out.
Yep.
We're doing classes, but our classes could be bigger. And that's getting the people there. But you're right, it takes time to be a responder and to be qualified. You know, if they're gonna go with somebody, if you have all the paperwork and they have CPR and they have first aid and they're going with someone, riding with somebody else, you know, their chief can clear them to be a second person. They, you know, they can't ride POV and they can't ride a secondary, but that's a way to get them involved before 6 months comes around, because every quarter we try to do an EMR class at least. You know, if every 3 months and then it's an 8-week course, depending on how fast, you know, the course is, that I can see where it would be 6 months. But that's an option for squads to, you know, get them involved, be a part without having all their training done. Cause then they can be a hand to that other person, as long as they have bloodborne pathogen, the things we have to have medical people have.
That's been great for us because, you know, many of us caught the bug for this when we were younger, and there weren't as many regulations and there weren't as many restrictions, and it was just cool and fun. And if they're waiting 6 months to run their first call, they're gone by then. So, well, we've had success in doing exactly what he just mentioned, so.
There was a symposium at the Fire Academy 2 weeks ago on recruitment and retention. And I hate to say that the only ones there were Gump and I and Charlie King from the upstate.
Oh, wow.
That was a little disheartening.
On the is that the Saturday one?
Yeah. Yeah, the Wednesday was for paid. Saturday was for voluntary.
That's right.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Director?
That's my,
Okay. Region 1, Kelly. I'm sorry, wait a minute.
yeah, Region 1.
You want,
I can do it now or
Sure.
do it
Whichever
during
you-
my
whichever you
time,
like.
either one.
whichever you like.
Just a quick something about the document that the training committee's been working on. Basically, nothing except the time schedule and the amount of time for the EMR class and the refresher. Nothing else changed, basically. There was one change that had to be made because of Upstate's only allows AHA for CPR. So that the other two that we had in there were taken out. That was a big change.
You mean the providers?
Do what?
The other two providers of CPR?
Yes, ASHE and American.
So Upstate only does AHA,
AHA.
but you don't have to have CPR to take EMR.
They
Correct.
consider it part of the class,
Oh, they consider, so
Yes.
you're gonna get it part of the class if you
Yes.
get EMR from there.
even if you come in with a CPR card, you still have to take their CPR.
Okay.
Because we wanted to, if we were gonna use Upstate EMS Council, we wanted to mirror what they were doing. Again, in the tables, because they have 66 hours for the EMR course, and I believe the academy also has a reduced amount. We had 80 hours in for EMR course. If you can do 66, why are you gonna do 80? They just finished one that I think was maybe 68 hours. You can have more than the 66, but not less than the 66. So we took all of the extra out of that, because everything basically that was in the extra hours is included in the course, or can be included in topics that are in the course. So we just did that and made it 66 hours. Can go more if you need it to, but not less. Because a lot of people were frowning upon the 80 hours anyway. It's too long, too much, and I understand why we had it in there before, but again, if we're gonna follow Upstate, then that's what we wanted to do. That was one other major thing. The refresher, again, did the same thing. There has to be at least 4 local state hours in there, so we have 4 things that we felt like would be good things to include. And that's what is listed there for the local hours, and then everything else is a 16-hour course. And that includes the CPR, or you can do the CPR separate at the end, or however you want to do it. Then, I know the timeline, I said that we would discuss it tonight. We talked today, Zach and I did, about a timeline, and what I'd like for the commissioners to do is to get questions and concerns back by December 1st, and I can send this out in an email. And then we'll be looking at anything that you have concerns about. Then we will make those revisions if they can be made, and then send it out to chiefs. The chiefs will have a deadline to send it back, and then when we have our commission meeting in January, hopefully it will be final and ready for a start date February 1st.
Are you gonna
Is
try
what
to
we're
get it to
aiming
them
for.
their January meeting?
I'm sorry.
Are you gonna try to get it to the chiefs for their January?
I'm gonna
meeting?
try, they're gonna get it in December and have a deadline to get things back to me January 2nd. And then I'm gonna come to the meeting and discuss anything they have concerns about. And hopefully they can make a decision that night. Because basically, like I said, other than the hours being taken out, nothing changed from the document that we presented several months ago, so. And I went through today and found some things that I need to correct as well already, so I'll be doing that and getting those corrections sent out. But thank you again, like I said in the email, for your patience in us getting this done, because we had several stopping points where we were waiting on decisions to be made when Upstate's director changed, and then had to wait on some other things to get clarification about. So we've been sort of like go, stop for several months, so. That's all.
Thanks for working on that.
You're welcome.
Brady is on the board of Upstate, right? Are you on?
Yes.
Is that helpful?
Another meeting.
You don't have any of them. Okay. So Kelly, you have anything further for your position announcement?
Of my position?
You're representing 1 and 3.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to talk about my thing now?
Sure.
It's okay. you don't
Your
have
turn.
to.
Looks like I didn't know what he was talking about.
Sorry.
Rescue 1. We were able to staff the Heritage Fair, 5K at South Cove, some Walhalla and Seneca football games, a biker festival, had a really good, successful fundraiser November 5th, and got 3 that graduated from EMR class last night, and we've added 2 paramedics since last month. Got Christmas parade coming up. We're helping Walhalla with their burn coming up in the next week or 2. We've still got 1 vehicle that is down. It was another motor pool issue, and it's now sent to the dealership. And I'm not sure when or if we'll get that back. Our other county vehicle was down for a little while, but it's back going now. It is a fleet vehicle, and what we've learned is you just have to drive it like you're reading meters, and everything's fine. So, Rescue 3, both of their vehicles are operational. I talked to Chief Fuller last night and got her a copy of a couple things she wanted. The Prisma, updated Prisma SOGs, And she was asking me, asked you guys this, she was asking me for a list of qualifications for the officer levels being held in the squads. I think you mentioned that a little bit earlier. Is that set, or is that,
That was part of the old SOGs.
okay,
And I have always recommended, those same ones, that we recommend since there hasn't been a new policy actually in its entirety redone. So those are the ones we do recommend, and there are a lot of caveats in there to, if someone doesn't have it, to get it within a year, some of those kind of things, because we know classes get canceled, and sometimes you start outside of a cycle.
yeah. And as usual, they're always open to volunteers. They've had some really critical calls over the last week, and have done a great job with those, so that's all I have.
Great. Tammy?
Okay, we had a busy October with calls, events. The fundraiser event that we had on the 22nd was an absolute hit. The band was excellent, food was good, and the crowd was absolutely unreal. So we did a very good job with the amount of money, the public did a good job supporting us in that, and good night. I think y'all supported us and came up and got stuff, and just appreciate everything that everybody did for that. Then followed up the next week with our spectacular tunnel for the kids and adults who enjoyed it. So just a busy couple of weeks there with stuff. Parade coming up, just like everybody else. And then there was a question about, I think there'd been talk about money for vehicles and what that's going to be set at. Was there any thought to that about, is that amount going to be the same every year, or is that going to increase because of inflation? That was just a question that was asked, so.
So, that money, the amount that was put in there did not grow as fast as the inflation. So it will have to change. Again, one of the reasons why we're redoing that whole plan to look at what it's truly gonna cost. We cannot do for $40,000 anymore. You can't even buy the vehicle, more or less upfit it to what we need to do, or the equipment that needs to be on it. So those numbers, though they were set in there to increase, they were nowhere close to what we saw the jump in our increase. Example, we were in the $27,000 for an F-150, when the plan was developed. We were in the 40s. And that's, was not projected, to get a vehicle, not even a response vehicle. So yeah, we are having to, rewrite, and look at all the numbers and, the fire numbers, which have skyrocketed. A fire truck's over $200,000 more today than it was we ordered 2 years ago. And so the rescue vehicles are exactly the same, significantly higher. But we do plan on increasing the projection of what they're gonna cost us to replace.
And haven't gotten a response from Chief Will Banks, so I have nothing for Rescue 6. No news is good news, I guess.
He'll say, all good. He always does. Okay, 4 and 5. Know that 4 has been making strides as best they can. They've been adding members here and there. They have a lot more work to do. But I think we need to give them an A for effort at this point. It's a hard climb back. Rescue 5, we're, of course, still hurting for members. Apple Festival we had, and But with 4 members, it's tough making headway. I hope to be using some of the things I learned at the Fire Academy to assist with our efforts. And I've something that you said before. Can I assume that the things on the 2014 SOGs that have not been updated or changed in the county SOGs for now remain the same?
Yes, we've used them as a guideline
Right.
to, yes,
Okay, I mean, things like, who's eligible to vote and,
correct.
things like that.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's what I've used, I pull it out to say, okay, what was that? And use that as my guide to make when we get questions.
Okay, thank you. And 7 and 8. Had a good Thanksgiving dinner last night. Rescue 8s have lots of calls. Rescue 7 has an increase in calls also. We have 40-something members in each squad. And we need to find a way of getting them to go to calls. I can't think of anything else. So our next scheduled meeting is January, yes, I'm sorry, oh, Eric.
I don't feel ignored. I'm just sitting in a corner.
She left you off here.
No, I'm on there.
Right in between.
I'm between Michael Smith and Steve.
Oh, I see, okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I didn't mean to skip you,
My self-esteem is not hurting too much.
not too much.
Okay, 22, we're still, just like everybody else, we're struggling for members, but we did have a former member that moved back and has rejoined us. We're not sure if she's gonna become a responder or not, but she's rejoined, and we have one in the research class. So we're currently at 5 responders. We sat down with the general manager of Kiwi Key to talk about if he can help us with recruitment by putting more information out, just in the Kiwi Key area, because he has other resources, besides us talking and putting out ads, so he's aware that are trying to bring in new members. He's gonna work with us. One of the things, we're working to bring an EMR class into Kiwi Key, if possible, so that would avoid people from the area having to go all the way down to headquarters or down here for a class. And that was one of the thoughts we had for recruitment, to make it a little easier, saying, hey, it's gonna be local. So if we can work something out, that was one of our ideas to improve the chance of recruitment. As far as response, we've been struggling with responses. One of the things we found out is some of our members were not responding on the radio to a call. They would simply hit active 911 saying, we're going to a call, so it was not recorded by dispatch. So I reminded everybody in the squad to answer by radio to make sure that dispatch knows they're on the way. One other thing, we ended up selling our rehab trailer to Rescue 1. We've had a trailer that we would take to rehab calls, but we decided Rescue 1, when I spoke with Brian, they were looking for a trailer, so we had something that probably fit the bill, so we sold our trailer to them. So it was kind of shrinking a little bit as far as carrying equipment. So, and that's about all for Rescue 22.
It's funny you brought up that about holding a distant class. We're planning to hold a EMR class down at the south end of the county in January. And I realized that training is budgeted. But I heard that even though the people that we train are going to be responding to calls to residents of our county, the training is different in that we have to pay for our own books. which is about $100 each. And the only equipment that we'll be allowed to use of county equipment is CPR. And I was hoping to get a little flexibility in that policy if possible. Again, since the county is the beneficiary to what we're doing.
So first thing is, the decision was made that if a squad wants to do a class just for at their department, then they pay for it because they chose to do it at their department. If the county is doing a class for everybody, the county pays for it. The training equipment is for the training center, which is a certified EMT center, which that equipment is not allowed to be loaned out. That equipment has to be for that center. So if it's held at that center, that class can use that equipment, but that equipment is not to be loaned out. There's a check sheet and what we have to maintain at a training center to do that. It's that equipment is EMT training, so we're an EMT certified, not EMR. So we get to use it as EMR, but not to move all over. Salem decided to do an EMR class, and they paid for everything, because, and in most cases, they're paying for it with county money. The money that is given to the squads is county money. It is taxpayer money. That's why we're giving it to them. So if you choose to do that on your own, for that, we applaud you for doing that and helping out the county and everything. But we can't move equipment because the training center, it's not supposed to be loaned out, it's supposed to be on site. And if it's not done as, the county and through the county training system, then you're paying for it as your squad to do it at your squad. So if they want one at their squad, they will be able to pay for the class to be done at their squad. And we will do what we can to push people there. Hey, we'll advertise it, here's it is. And if 4 people from Salem still need to go, they're welcome to pay for the bill, to get trained, for that.
Because we had people from the refresher that we did, we had people from 22, and we had one from somewhere, may have been Friendship, and a couple of others that were there that paid, their squad paid for theirs.
Okay,
What does a set of equipment cost for EMR class?
I don't know the list for EMR, sorry.
I can take that list and get some prices.
I just wonder if we could all chip in and share a set between the squads. So,
well,
I don't see why not.
a rescue squad or a fire department would probably have most of that equipment in their
Should have.
building.
what is it that needs to be borrowed then?
Well, other than that, things like airway, mannequins, and stuff that we would never buy because of its cost and usage would be so small.
The EMR, what would they use the airway just for?
For OPA,
Okay. You can do that on a CPR dummy, that right?
no.
No.
Usually don't have a mouth. A CPR dummy usually doesn't. You keep, not the kind of mouth you can
Oh,
put
the
up.
new ones.
Oh, I don't know about new ones.
No, I'm saying they've always had a mouth,
Oh,
which you blow on.
Yeah, they have a mouth, it's not a ergonomically correct to do an airway generally, because the tongues aren't there. There's not really a tongue to push on for an OPA.
Okay.
But that's an airway, a pediatric and an adult airway would be two of the things that could be shared. But that's why we don't allow that stuff to go out, because it is required for the EMT to be on site at that location as a certified training site.
okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Ocean.
Elliot made a motion,
I'll second it.
Eric seconded, all in favor, right hand, say aye. Opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned.